What profession do you think deserves more respect? Bus drivers. And yeah, I know there are some butthole bus drivers, but spend a year in their shoes and you'll learn that they're buttholes for a reason. When I was going to college for an art course, I didn't have my own transport, so naturally I took the bus. For an entire year, I watched the bus drivers get crap from a large majority of their passengers. From drunk idiots to freaking teenagers. The worst case I ever witnessed was when my bus pulled up at a stop to collect some high school students. It was winter and there was snow. As soon as the bus driver opened the door, he was pelted in the face with a barrage of snowballs from the students. About 40 snowballs were thrown at this poor man who was just doing his job. The students thought they were freaking brilliant for this crap and proceeded to board. The bus driver punished them by telling them all to get the frick off the bus. And when they did, he closed the doors and left them there. When the last stop, consequently my stop, came, I waited until everyone got off the bus before checking with the driver to see if he was okay. He said it happens every freaking year when it snows. These people get up at stupid o'clock to drive 4 hours back and forth between locations, carting people about. They help us get to where we need to go. Driving is exhausting, and bus drivers do it for a living, but get chat on by people who think they're above them, or by students whose parents are too freaking irresponsible to discipline their brats. They deserve way more respect than they get. My grandma was an awesome bus driver for years, was so kind to the kids. She had to quit because she got a new route with new kids and they were so cruel to her. They would call her horrible names, make messes, and just completely disrespect her. Buttholes. I work in logistics, and I can tell you that literally everyone associated with logistics is overlooked. You don't think about how hard it was to get your $15 Amazon sunglasses delivered to your door in 18 hours until you've worked in logistics. Truck drivers, dispatchers, coordinators. It takes a lot of behind the scenes work to get stuff from point A to point Z. Caregivers. We need to make sure those who take care of us are secure. I'm not talking about only professional caregivers. All caregivers are heroes to everyone. My mom is a caregiver and her job does not treat her well. My sister and I have had to get involved once before. From poor pay to outright trying to not pay her for worked hours. Garbage collectors. They get put down a lot, but the people who do that would certainly miss them if they weren't there. And it's always used to scare kids into getting good grades. It's actually not that bad. From what I've heard, it pays decently. Archivists. Much of history would likely be lost if we didn't have people that maintain and preserve historical documents materials. Science researcher. Most make crap money for their credentials and are the reason we have anything nice. The people who develop the COVID vaccine are the heroes, not the fools throwing parades for themselves. Phlebotomists. They have to very precisely stab people who most often do not want to be stabbed, sometimes screaming, kicking, fighting adults when working inpatient. Dishwashers. We get covered in old food, harsh chemicals, and near boiling water each shift. We make the least out of anyone in the restaurant, yet are the cog which keeps the whole operation going. The servers at my work make more in an hour than I do in a shift. I make less than a new employee at a Wendy's. Frick. Yeah, I've never understood that and hate restaurants for proliferating that practice. Good luck and I hope you find better work somewhere else. Whoever the duck builds all our crap. Like, where would we be without the people digging up roads and putting in pipelines or building houses and crap? All the professions that are considered for losers. Dude, I had people who is rude with janitors, waiters or people whose work consists on cleaning or something. Working as janitor isn't a very enjoyable job and people being rude with them makes it even worse. School cafeteria cooks. I know they have a bad rap for being B. The ones I know are all kinds hardworking people that work their asses off daily in hot kitchens. Construction. Some of the hardest working people top to bottom and is a rather thankless job overall. The construction community though is incredibly tight. Vet nurses techs. We're the ones administering meds, placing IV catheters, monitoring anesthetics, post-op care, TPRing, calculating and starting maintaining fluids, running blood urine tests, admitting and discharging patients etc etc. The list goes on. We get constant crap from owners. Deal with crap, pee, vomit, anal glands, teeth and claws. Work is usually absolutely manic. The hours are long and the wage is absolute shite. At least in the UK. My cat has anal gland cancer. I had zero clue cats even had those. The tech that has cleaned him up is so nice. I can't imagine having to do all the things they do. Artists. This world would be unbearable to live in if it weren't for artists, and yet we consistently undervalue their labor and expect them to work for free. Artists need health insurance and a roof over their head too, okay? It really annoys me when people crap on artists and jerk off about STEM jobs and then go consume endless amounts of media like anime and video games as though artists had nothing to do with that. Teachers. In the US. At least in the sense that they should really be paid comparably to how they are paid in other parts of the world. Teaching in CA requires a 4-year bachelor's degree and a 2-year post-grad program to become credentialed, along with multiple state exams. That's 6+ years of school, just to be underpaid. Workers of fast food restaurants. It's a job like any other around. It's not a temporary place. It's not exclusively for dropout. It's a job like every other. I was fired during early COVID for openly complaining about being deemed an essential worker. Guess they didn't need me. I own an accessibility consulting company where we help building managers, owners, etc. make their building more accessible to people with disabilities. Unfortunately, it's a field that often doesn't get a lot of respect. People simply don't see the value of making a place accessible, and there's no enforceable accessibility law in my province, yet. And because I also use a wheelchair, it's even more challenging. If the topic is accessibility, there is a weird tendency for non-disabled folks to listen to other non-disabled folks. There have been many situations where a potential client would rather hire an able-bodied person to do the accessibility analysis work, rather than someone who experiences it firsthand. The most common reason is perception of ability. There is a tendency to see disabled folks as not able, even when the topic is accessibility. It is common for a roundtable discussion about accessibility to not have a single disabled person at the table. Something about that just bugs me so much. Any type of trade, specifically machinists and welders. The world wouldn't be what it is today without machinists and welders. Food service industry. I have seen and experienced way too many people being complete jerks to employees at restaurants, cafes, etc. It can be pretty demanding and frustrating work, and the way some people talk down to them is crazy. Plus, these people are literally handling your food and drinks. It might be a good idea to be nice to them. I get complaining if something is wrong, but just be respectful about it. Many of us have to work these jobs in our youth to get by, and it's never the most fun of times, so people should really just be a bit nicer. Artists. I may be biased about this one, but on the art industry we're usually undervalued. Animators are overworked and underpaid, and manga translators are lacking staff. Artists are just an underappreciated member of the society. Novelist. The amount of time, effort, and knowledge of the craft to write an excellent story that works is eye-opening to those outside the field. Retail and customer service jobs. I think the pandemic have proven that they are extremely important, and we need to treat workers with way more respect. Software people, IT guys. Everything gives praise to doctors and police and etc. But no one gives a crap about the IT guys who make sure that the system is working. The book Utopia for Realists compares the 1968 New York City garbage man strike with the bank strikes happening in Ireland at around the same time. New York City caved to the garbage men in 9 days, while in Ireland, pubs began functioning as quasi-banks, so garbage men women, and also barkeeps. Hospitality. Forever and ever. Hospitality. The amount of people who treat waitstaff like their personality indentured servants who exist solely to cater to them is mind-boggling. Butchers. People don't realize how much work we do to take a whole carcass and break it down and get every cut shop ready. People seem to think that meat just comes pre-done and shop ready, or if the meat goes to a restaurant then the chef gets all the praise. It's like all they done was slap it on the grill. We done all the work to give you a nice steak, yet they get the praise and the money from it, while butchers get no praise and generally not much money for the work we do. Migrant farm workers, both legal and illegal. They're coming here to help provide for their families. They work very hard, demanding jobs, out in the elements typically, while being away from their families for months or years, just to give their kids a better shot at a future. US agriculture relies heavily on them because, typically speaking, no American will work a farm job even for more than minimum wage. Something like H-2A is more effective at getting labor than hiring local, even with all the added costs and red tape. Truck drivers. 99% of your stuff got here on a truck. Maybe more. Let them in your lane if they want over. Give them space to make wide turns. Be aware, if you can't see their mirrors, they can't see you. And always remember to flash your titties. They appreciate that. Garbage people. I always see people in my neighborhood making fun of them because they have a menial job and didn't go to school. Heck, if it wasn't for them, your entire driveway would be covered in trash. I also hear they make a good amount of money, as long as they do what they're supposed to. Truck drivers. Doctors get all the attention, but who would transport the equipment that doctors need? Janitors. The amount of work they put in is insane. The reason why they act standoffish sometimes is because they don't get the amount of respect they deserve. At my school, I've seen grown-ass adults make fun of the janitors. This is why every year, I have the janitors sign my yearbook and thank them for what they do. Nurses. They don't earn a lot, do long hours, have to deal with diarrhea, blood, vomit, flu, late night, hot but unventilated rooms, crying babies, crying cancer patients, crying people suffering horrible side effects from chemo, people in with limbs lost from accidents, long hours, difficult coordination, strict doctors, terrible management, giving precise injections. Pretty much every profession that keeps all our crap running and isn't paid or acknowledged enough. My personal top 5. 1. Teachers. 2. Nurses. 3. Lab technicians. Think the people doing all the PCR testing for COVID over the past 2 years, for example. 4. Janitors and maintenance personnel. 5. IT personnel, especially T1 help desk people. The people that clean up after a murder death. Could you imagine having to deal with what these people do? The sights, the smells, the horror. And if they weren't there doing it, then who would? Mad respect for the people that do this job. Retail workers. I've done it myself and now my spouse is a manager at a store. It's not just the Karens complaining about not being able to find the sugar, it's the constant barrage of petty theft and elderly people getting caught up in gift card scams she deals with that just gets wearing after a while. Tradespersons, electricians, plumbers, and mechanics. They are responsible for ensuring that the necessities of modern life moving through the walls of your home, whether water or energy, don't spontaneously break free and wreck everything. The tangle of steel and rubber that you ride around in each day doesn't spontaneously blow up as it compresses and zaps refined dino juice 5,000 plus times per minute to create motion. Heavy freaking stuff, and my cohort at least was conditioned to look down on them due to not being college educated professionals. Truck drivers. If they quit driving even for a few days, the country would come to a screeching halt. Instead of being respected, they get trash talked, treated like crap. People drive like idiots around them and then complain when that 80,000 pounds truck they just brake checked can't stop as fast as their car. Fast food workers. For a list of reasons, but dealing with the worst of the general public when hungry, being underpaid, micromanaged, controlled virtually every minute they are on shift, forced into tight compliance to nearly impossible standards, and it's rubbed in their eye when they can't even eat a free meal. I remember my city had a 6.0 earthquake a few years ago. Power was down and it was chaos everywhere. People were starving and the first place everyone went to was fast food joints. I cannot imagine them having to carry the burden of feeding us during natural disasters in addition to the everyday jerks they encounter. Plumbers. I can't even imagine what plumbers have to see while doing their jobs. To get into darkest of the corners of someone else's house and to deal with waste, which is sometimes rotting, takes a lot of mental strength. On top of this, to deal with a lot of chads and Karens. Well, this one goes for every profession. Mad respect. Ones in which people don't go to university to get qualified in their profession. In Australia, some people here tend to think people who go to TAFE, trade school, as less smart individuals compared to those who go to uni. Society needs both. Uni and TAFE go hand in hand. You've got people who went to uni to learn architecture and you've got people who went to TAFE to learn building. Agree. Other countries call your TAFE with different names, but it's the same technical schools, mostly blue collar workers. The people cleaning the city streets in certain cities, like in Paris, where certain people regularly pass through streets and pick trash up. I was a student janitor in college. To this day my favorite co-workers ever were the 2 union custodians I was paired with. Now that I'm union at a college, I try to give my student workers the same experience. Meteorologists. They have to go through so much training and schooling, and there is tons to know about the science behind weather. You have to be an expert on wind, rain, clouds, hurricanes, tornadoes, the atmosphere, and why conditions occur when they do and how to forecast it. I get exhausted just talking about it. And yes, your local meteorologist will get things wrong about the weather. They are not fortune tellers. They cannot predict the weather 100% correctly, 100% of the time. There are many forecast models that meteorologists are trying to learn which one works best. They can only look at past trends and use that for predictions. Not to mention that scientists, meteorologists are trying to come up with new technology every day. Back in the 1980s their tornado warning system sucked. And before that, they didn't even broadcast tornadoes on the news because they didn't want to scare the public. Fast forward to 2021 and there are better warning systems and more accurate storm predictions. It took them 30 something years to increase their warnings and knowledge about the likelihood of a tornado forming. But to the common American, it should have been done faster because you think it's so easy to just look at the sky and see dark clouds. On a lighter note, I appreciate meteorologists and all their hard work and dedication for all they do. I took a natural disasters class in college and that class was hard. Now these people are essentially experts and all we do is just open our weather app and glance at it for a few seconds and go about our day. Absolutely any and every profession involved with producing and transporting food. Even living a good life in a good place. My family is like 1 or 2 missing delivery trucks away from total starvation. I can't grow crap. I can't hunt. I am absolutely 100% dependent on other people turning plants, animals into food and bringing it to the grocery store near me. Cashiers, especially in supermarkets, they get low wage, have lots of time pressure and customers are often rude to them. Medical volunteers of any kind. The people who volunteer at children's hospitals, cheering the sick kids up. People who volunteer to sit with dying elderly patients who have no family. People who volunteer at retirement homes, reading to the elderly, bringing their babies in to see the elderly people. They love babies. Probably an unpopular opinion at this point, especially in the US, but the police. I fully support that corrupt or violent cops be exposed, prosecuted and get what's coming to them, but these rotten apples should not paint the entire police force in a negative light. The honest policemen and women put their physical and mental health on the line daily, wading through the dirtiest dirt that society has to offer, so the average citizen doesn't have to. And in addition to that, they face the negative public opinion that frequently crosses into slander territory. Furthermore, at least where I'm from, they do it for a crappy salary too. It is by all accounts a thankless job where the risk and responsibility far outweigh any rewards. The least we can do in return is to reserve judgment and withhold the all cops are bastards mentality until one actually does something deserving of such titles. Electrician. It's my job and I love it, but sometimes you get some clients who think they know more than you and think it's easy. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.